Hello, I'm November
Hi,
Eve,
and I am Aphrodite Vixen.
and we're coming to you today to talk about, well, just who are we and what we practice, why we practice, that kind of thing.
All
So,
right.
yeah.
Well, I
Uh,
do want to take this moment and
uh,
thank you for inviting me to
yes,
join you in today's video. I'm really excited. And all right, let's
I'm
go.
excited that you agreed to come on with me. This is like
Oh,
some of my favorite kind of content on YouTube, or which is just get together and kind of compare notes and agree, disagree, have it out. So
okay.
hopefully, yeah.
All right. Well, let's go. What would you like? How would you like to open this up?
Well, I guess I've talked to like I'm just barely new to YouTube, so my audience just barely knows who I am and where I've come from with my practice. I've been practicing for 4 years now, an eclectic pagan path. I don't like the term eclectic, but it fits, so I use it. I don't like
I
eclectic
get
because
that.
I feel like a lot of cultural appropriation happens behind the umbrella of eclecticism that we just excuse. But
Yeah, I think eclectic gets a bad rap, honestly. I think
it
because you
does.
have the traditionalist and then you have all the new persons that are newbies, new witches. And, so I think it can be a way of sometimes on how it's said. I think some of the more traditionalists may try to kind of do some shaming with that title,
Right,
but I think we live in an age of time where eclectic is just what it is because we're a melting pot, and
right,
not just as a nation here, but just globally.
right. And like, as long as you're still holding things sacred and not completely divorcing them of their cultural context, and you know,
Right,
then
right. I
you're an
definitely
appreciator,
get
not
that.
an appropriator.
Right. And I do want to say that goes both ways. I know we look at appropriation just when it comes to um how you say a non-Caucasian or white culture, whether it
Mhm.
be African based or Latino or
Right,
Asian, or not to disrespect anybody with my terminology, but it also works the other way because there are also witches of color who
mhm.
are more toward that Greek base or
Right.
Celtic or more European based practice. So at the same time, we also have to be mindful of that form of appropriation as well, just to kind of make things more balanced.
I know how I've come to define it for myself as far as like open practices and closed practices. Closed
Hmm.
practices require initiation, and
Right.
open practices don't necessarily require that initiation. Now, whether that's correct definition of an open practice versus closed practice, I don't know. That's just where I'm at currently.
Right.
Uh, but I have practiced hoodoo. I don't know that I still am practicing hoodoo. Like a lot of my style of magic comes from that kind of southern use what you have, use what's in your kitchen, get it
Right.
done. But I don't really feel comfortable using the Bible anymore. And I
Right.
feel
I
like
understand that for
that can be a
sure.
big portion of it. And so I don't my relationship with the ancestors and with the spirits is different than what I think traditional hoodoo is. I don't know that I'm really comfortable even using that term for myself anymore. Um, I know I've run into a concept lately of hoodoo and conjure being different things, but I know how we were taught they were always the same thing.
Right. Right. You know, like you said, I think some things do deal with where you're from.
Hmm.
you know, and also like you said, with the tools, with what you have, you know, because yes, we know things as a title of saying something's hoodoo, or people that practice voodoo, or you know, any other form of you know, the path per se. But I think it's just wording, you know what I mean? Because one of the things I've noticed, and I've been on the path, I would say I found it and stepped into it fall of 2019. So we're
Hmm.
in 3 years.
Right.
But as far as getting deeper and deeper, you know, it takes time. You evolve and you grow. But one of the things I've learned from even learning history and background of cultures and places is everyone has pretty much done the same thing. They
Yeah.
just might have a different, slap a different label on it. But you go back in ancient Egypt, they had a lot of the same candle wax burning. They did a lot of
Wax figures,
effigy
puppets.
burning, you know,
Yeah.
for to conquer their enemies. And then you find in Greece and you find in Europe, they made dolls. I mean, everyone has had a similar feeling or instinct on what to do in their practice. So, you know, I just think that all these things just continue to divide instead of unite. And I think we've had enough of division in
Right.
dealing with major religions, you know.
Well, I
I think
think it
that's
just
caused enough.
reinforces that it works. You know, the fact that we find this
Yeah.
across cultures, across time,
Mhm.
across
Mhm.
continents is that we're
Right.
not so very different as we think
And
we
not so
are.
far off. Right.
And that
Right. I mean,
spirit
it blew my
speaks to
mind.
us in a commonish kind of language.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
And you know, like, which sometimes you're doing something and you get like this instinct of something you're going to add or something you're going to write or say or perform. And then you, like I said, for me, again, going back in history and seeing that, oh my gosh, they did this 2,500 years ago.
Right.
You know, it blows your mind, you know, but it just lets you know that it's like a confirmation to me, you
Right.
know, that, like you said, you're not so far off in what you're doing. And yeah, and girl, it's
Even
a
as you
lot.
start working your magic more intuitively and grabbing
Mhm.
these herbs and these crystals and putting it
Mhm.
all in a bottle, and then come to find out, you find that in a spell book that somebody else has written,
Right.
and
Right. Because now we don't want to detract and say that there are some foundational things
yes.
that you should definitely learn, because you don't want to use the wrong herb for something,
Right.
or you know, be thinking that you're going to do one thing and you're actually doing or sending some other energy out there.
Right.
So anyone who is curious and wants to learn, you still want to find some good elders
Mm.
that you can learn from. I mean, I think we were very fortunate to find good information,
Yes.
you know, and you want to find a lot of that foundational information, and then you can build and grow from that
Right.
for sure.
You've got to lay a foundation, because spirit can't speak to you if you don't have the vocabulary.
Right, that's true.
You don't know the language. It just cannot speak to you as effectively, and you can really
Hmm.
hurt yourself if you don't understand the fundamentals of. I'm not even talking about spirits coming in and messing you up. I'm just talking about hurt yourself with these plants, these essential
Hmm.
oils, and you know objects
Right,
that
right.
people
What the purpose
use.
of them are. Right,
Right, the
and that's
mundane over
something
the
like
magical there.
And that's something like for me, and I think for people to know, you're not going to automatically know and remember everything. It's
Right.
okay to look something up, you know,
Yes.
to have your book of magical herbs, to have your grimoire or your journal, or to even go on. People poo-poo it, but sometimes you do need to quickly know when it comes to an herb. You can go to Google.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something I'll say. You can still go online and
Mm-hmm.
find out what the principal purpose of it is. And then also looking at how you use something mundanely also gives you a very good clue.
Yes.
You know, like when we talk about using cinnamon, right?
Right.
Or using seeds in your work, like pumpkin seeds,
Right.
you know, apples, like what does it do? Like, are they things that are plentiful, like grapes? You know what I mean? So knowing anything that grows in a plentiful way is going to represent growth and prosperity. So that's something you can incorporate into your work.
Well, and a lot of these herbs that represent prosperity is because they were expensive. So it was a sign of
Mm.
wealth to even have them. And that is how, why they're currently being used as prosperity herbs.
See, yeah.
And
So, like you
like, I
said,
like to
learning
get
the
into the
history.
why.
Yeah, I was I love your videos that you've been doing
Yeah.
because they do go into the history and the background, and it's a very thorough explanation, you know. And I think for people, sometimes you need to take it from the very beginning foundation in order
Hmm.
for it to take root in your memory, you know, and you say, okay, I got it, you know, it clicks for me.
Right.
So I think kudos to you on that.
Thank you. I just feel like a lot of the information I have to share, people have probably shared more eloquently, but I'm going to give my perspective on it. And maybe that'll make it click for
Hmm.
someone.
Right, exactly.
So,
Exactly. Because
um,
it's not something you just go over your head, you know?
what else do I do? I work with several deities
Hmm.
of different pantheons. So I'm a
Okay.
pantheon mixer.
Okay.
I, you know, I work with a lot of Greek deities. I'm opening myself up to the Celtic pantheon and researching and studying that more. But I've
Yeah.
worked with Egyptian deities before, but usually the Greek interpretation of those Egyptian deities.
Right.
Because a
Right.
lot of the names that we know, the common names of them are the Greek names.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to get information, like trying to go back as far as you can to get information on these
Mm-hmm.
deities. And you know, it's like I don't know how to say, like sometimes you want to be angry, like when you talk about people stealing or taking a
Yes.
culture, but at the same time, if they didn't, you wouldn't even have the information because as civilizations change, a lot of times they will destroy the older culture to promote the
Right.
newer culture or the newer belief system, you know. And it hurt my heart, like when I learned how, in the transferring of making Egypt and even I think Sudan more of a, like getting into the Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
they were actually engraving their form of graffiti
Wow.
crosses over a lot of the uh what, not pyramids, but yeah, like the
The
tombs and different things. So they were
hieroglyphs
etching
and
over
yeah.
and destroying things that later on we're like, I would love to know what they're saying. I would love to know what this means.
Right.
But they've kind of like damaged, you know, history, you know.
Right.
So yeah, it really does.
The history wasn't
I,
preserved.
I hate that, you know, I really do hate that a lot of this stuff is in museums. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
you know, and I think it should be in its rightful place of origin.
Right.
However, at the same time, I do know that a lot of that would have been lost, um, even if it was temporarily, you know, because of all the internal struggle for control, you know. It's what I say, a catch 22
Right.
situation.
I just I think there's a lot of misconceptions when it comes to deity work out there. And a lot of people try to
Hmm.
scare people off of deity. And by no
Yeah.
means do you have to work with a deity. I think that because a lot of times we're coming from Christianity, we're used to
Hmm.
interpreting the divine through deity. So we think we now need a deity to worship when a lot of witchcraft is not worshiping a deity. I mean, it can be if
Hmm.
you choose to, but a lot of it is developing a working relationship with
Right.
that energy, with that entity. And my personal opinion, I don't think there should be so much fear mongering around it because people act like
Right.
you're really going to mess yourself up. Like, and part of me is like, what's
Hmm.
really the worst that could happen? Like, I understand there's things that can happen,
Hmm.
but like,
Right.
really, I mean, are you really going to hurt yourself doing this? Like, I don't think so. I think, well, to borrow a phrase, God watches over the fools
The
and children.
basement.
Yeah, so
Right.
deity work was
Well,
that dangerous? Would they be bringing children into churches? Would you know?
I don't know, but I know it will offend and ruffle a lot of feathers. But Jesus was deified. He's a
Yeah.
deity, and the reason I will say this, when I was in church, which was
Hmm.
most of my life, I always questioned though, like, well, are we worshiping God or are we worshiping Jesus? Because
Right.
all these songs are supposed to be to God, but then they're always Jesus, 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 Jesus.
Right.
So, and I know they would say, oh, well, that's the Trinity,
Right.
but it creates a lot of confusion. And the reality of it is, and then getting into learning about how other deities were made. Jesus, now I will
Mm.
say he may have been a real person. We know that was not the actual name because of
Right.
language, but that's someone who was deified after death,
Right.
because that's the same story as Tammuz. Tammuz was a man and he was killed and then deified. And that's the story and reborn. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it seems to be a lot of cultures have these same kind of stories of being born, being slaughtered or sacrificed or
Right.
killed, and then reincarnated, restored, reborn. And it's like a
Hmm.
cycle. So, it's not to offend people because I was very much into church,
Hmm.
but it's the truth,
Right.
and the longer you kind of step away and allow those strings to be cut, you're able to free yourself and free your mind and free yourself from fear to explore, and being free to learn and know that learning is not wrong. Learning something that's outside of what's in the Bible doesn't mean you're going to hell. There
Right.
isn't a hell.
There isn't a hell.
That's also mythology. That comes from Greek mythology. It comes from Egyptian mythology.
Hmm.
So here you go. We may go somewhere after we leave this body, but
Hmm.
I think we decide that we can put our own
Right.
selves into torment, based on guilt or, whatever.
My own ideas are anything's possible, and
Hmm.
I'm increasingly becoming comfortable with uncertainty because we're
Yeah,
just
that's a
not
big
gonna
one.
know until it happens.
And that's the biggest problem, I think, with humanity is because we build all this fear and then we make all these suggestions of what's going to happen after life, or well, somebody died and told me that they saw this or they saw that or whatever. So we're assuming what's coming when the reality is no one has come back verified and said,
Right.
hey, I died in 1725 and guess what, y'all, this is what you're looking forward to. So we do have to have, I guess, some kind of faith. And I think more of a thing of, I think you should just try to have a good balanced karmic footprint,
Hmm.
you know, like just try to do as least harm to others as possible.
Right.
We're going to make mistakes, but try to keep that imprint light. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
karma can hit you fast, quick, and in a hurry. And, we just want to try to learn how to master that, That's my opinion on it.
Right.
But I have my days though, don't get me wrong.
No. And working with deity is it's very different, and like it's very different from a pagan perspective to a Christian perspective. And every pagan's
Hmm.
perspective is going to be different. And a lot of Christians' perspectives are going to be different, but I find them to be very beautiful and fulfilling relationships. And so I don't want to scare somebody away from that. And I feel like
Right.
there's a lot of course, when you're first starting out, you're just beginning, you should learn fundamentals, you should learn some
Hmm.
protections,
Hmm.
you should learn to set healthy boundaries, because you can, in fact, set boundaries with these deities. You can negotiate the terms with which you work on them. You don't have to take what they said as the law.
Right. Right.
There is a give and take there. I just think
Hmm.
that they should be approached with reverence and not fear.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And it also goes back to that thing like, how when you're on a job, right? And
Hmm.
you're working and you'll have somebody, a coworker tell you, hey, watch out for that person because they're blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
So, but you're like, wait a minute, I'm not going to form that opinion because of what they
Right.
said. I need to experience it for myself. So when dealing with deities, you know, yeah, I think you should kind of understand the backstory and understand that all of these are stories too that people have made.
Right.
And, a good example is Santa Muerte.
Hmm.
So, you know, people have promoted that, oh, that's what the drug dealers and criminals, they pray to Santa Muerte for help and this and that or whatever. Or she's
Hmm.
scary and she's mean or she's this or she's that. Now, for me, um, when I was presented with a situation of having to form a relationship with her, and at first I
Hmm.
was nervous, I was scared
Hmm.
because a little bit, only because I was also dealing with getting over the spookiness of bones and skeletons.
Well,
So the
yeah.
idea of a spirit that's represented as a skeleton was kind of bothering to me. I had, I wasn't quite comfortable,
Well, and
you
she's a
know,
literal personification of death, so you're going to have to confront your
right,
mortality and fears around that.
right. You exactly. And you know what? For me, anything I did with a deity, it was more so hearing from them in a dream or
Hmm.
hearing their name over and over again, like, hey, like like knocking on the door. So for her, I was put in a position where I kind of was told we got to work with her. And I was like, okay. I was kind of nervous. But what happened is I started to see her in a different light.
Right.
So, what she represents to me is different from someone who might be fearful of her or who may think, oh, she's this or that. To me, I saw her as a sweet spirit, as a
Right.
grandmother spirit. And I know a lot of people be like, oh, you're crazy. I don't see that as that. But for me, that was my way of forming my relationship with her. And I will say during my time, because I am on a little bit of pause, um, with her, and it's not anything bad. But during the time of the heavy building of the relationship, I will say there was never, and there isn't now, but
Right.
there's never lack in my house.
Right.
I knew that she watched over and protected me and my children. I know that I would call on her for just help or even just having that relationship, so she wasn't scary to me. She was a
Right.
grandmother. That I figured I put her as a thing of with my ancestors because to
Hmm.
me she was also like a gate for them, for me to even get closer to them. So I would thank her and give her reverence for that. But that's just one of the ways that, people can have different forms of relationships
Right.
with deities and spirits.
Well, it's called personal gnosis, and there's different levels. And it may be unverified personal gnosis, but it's still your
Mhm.
personal gnosis. It's what you
Mhm.
experience while working with this entity, this energy.
Right.
And because I also worked with Santa Marte, still work with Santa Marte, and I don't see her as a grandmother, but I definitely see her as motherly.
Mhm.
And,
Right.
she's shown me things and helped me confront my fear of death. She
Mhm.
helped show that to me, that that was the root cause of like most all of my anxiety is the fear of dying.
Right.
And so working with her has really helped me come to terms with that and that uncertainty. Uh,
Mhm.
and I was scared of her too at first. Like I had before, we were both in a situation where we were told to start working with her. I had kind of been interested in her, but too scared to
Mhm.
approach her. I didn't think it was my place, culture, or even that, I would want to do that because I had heard these other people's opinions on working with her and what working with her entailed. And, just getting that nudge and finding out that that just wasn't my experience with her. And I'm not
Right.
saying that those people were wrong. It's just not how she presents to me.
Right. I kind of think that deities or spirits sometimes when they present as far as wanting to work with you or be around you, they
Hmm.
come in the way that you need.
Yes.
They come in the way that you can receive them, and the way that you can best be aided by them.
Right.
Because hey, I like some of the ones that people step away from. A lot of people, they don't want to deal with Set. They
Right.
think Set is Satan and
Right.
the devil and yada 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 yada. But I will tell you, for me, and that was one of them that I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. But
Hmm.
he came and knocking. Okay, and it was just in my head, like where I kept hearing his name said, and I was like, where I was like, oh my gosh, really? And I was like, fine, let me look you up. And I found this video that I have yet to refine. But what it did for me is the gentleman that was speaking on him was speaking of the ancient history of Set, not
Right.
the modern Greek tales of him and Horus and fighting and kill all of that. No, the ancient Set, the Set that protected the, what would you call, Upper Egypt, which is more like
Hmm.
Sudan, and
Right.
the more darker people, and how the older pharaohs had Set in their name. So I learned about that and I was like, okay. And then I still was like, whatever. But the time came where I was going through something and I just said his name. I was like, Set, help me. And let me tell you, when
Hmm.
I have something that is going on in my life that's really needs to be removed, banished,
Right.
whatever, that is who I asked for help.
Right.
And when I know that Set helps me and amplifies it and gets it done. And I'm
Right.
just so grateful. So, and now that I'm in my place again, I can
Yes.
put his little figures and things back out. But yeah, that's one that people don't want to work with. But to me, for me, Set is a protector. He
Hmm.
removes chaos because he's over the desert and the storms.
Right.
And one of the things you learn in about when you're learning about deities is the ones that are over the storms clear out.
Right.
They don't just cause chaos. That chaos clears as well so that you can, grow new things or have new things. It can clear out those blocks, clear out those negative people, those negative energies. So, that's what he does.
Right.
Now there is one that I will not mess with, and
Hmm.
I've told you about him. And I had a dream of his image, and I didn't quite know who he was, but I looked it up and found him, and I was like, uh-uh.
No. Well, and you don't have to answer every door. You don't have
Exactly.
to, you really don't have to. And, sometimes they'll just wait till we're ready. I mean,
Hmm.
I've had deities call me for like a year or more before I finally, stopped being obtuse and started working with them. And I
Yeah,
just,
but this one, girl, yeah, I
oh,
feel if I open that door,
hmm.
mm-mm, is this is a vicious sun war god,
Right.
and you think of bloodthirst.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm not getting into that. Ain't nobody done nothing to
Right.
me that bad. Okay, now if they do something, knock on wood, that's tragic or devastating,
Hmm.
hey, it's all hey, hands
Right. And they
off,
have to,
But that's one that I would not, I don't even want to say his name. He's like
right.
Voldemort. I'm not gonna say his name, but you know
Yeah.
who he is. I've told you. But I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and those are the gifts that, sometimes we all have different gifts on our path. You know what I mean? Like different things that we are blessed with, so to speak. Like
Hmm.
you are very good with tarot reading and very accurate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that is your gift, most
Right.
definitely. That is one. That's
One
only
of my
one. You have
gifts.
others,
Right.
you know. But I think so. What do you think then? So when we're trying to discover our gifts,
Hmm.
and what is our best way, in your opinion, our beginning foundation to opening them up and pushing them forward?
I think uh making a list of things that you like to do.
Hmm.
Try not to think about it too hard. Just write down what comes first. See if anything comes to you in your dreams. Uh,
Hmm.
try try different things, like try different forms of divination. Try working with herbs. Try helping, volunteering at a soup kitchen. Try
Right.
try some different areas that you would like to operate in. And if you're just completely lost, get a reading. And like, but at the same time, don't just don't just depend on somebody to come and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, this is your gift, you need to start
Hmm.
doing this.
Hmm.
Sometimes folks are lucky enough to see that in us and can give us some direction, but
Right.
I think
And
a lot of trial and error.
sometimes, sometimes people will see that in you and
Mhm.
hold back and not tell you.
Yes, because they may have a similar gift and be jealous, or
Right.
jealous that they don't
Or
have
they
that
just
gift.
wanna, or they just don't want to see that blossom in you. You know. Hey.
I know I had a problem with the church because,
Hmm.
even if your church, not necessarily progressive churches, because progressive Christianity is a different thing, but some of the more traditional churches that try to brand themselves as progressive will say that they don't have a problem with women in leadership roles when honestly they do.
They do.
And
They do
they
for
want to give
sure.
it to a mediocre man over a gifted woman, and they will do that every time. And I remember when I was in the church and I felt like I wanted to go into ministry, and like I said, amongst my peers, I was the one to go to about nearly everything. Like people, they would just come to me to pray over a situation, and it would happen. And I was in
Hmm.
alignment and flowing in my gift at that time. And but when I would try talking to those people that were supposed to shepherd me, they'd be like, I don't know if ministry is for you, maybe you should go into nursing or teaching or something,
Hmm.
something very traditionally, like a very traditionally feminine field.
You're right. Well, that's going to be a topic for another day when we
Yeah.
talk about women's roles and the whole patriarchal thing
Right.
and Even the removal of feminine energy
Hmm.
from the major religions, and
Yes.
which caused a lot of these issues and problems.
Right.
Um, I will say my heart goes out to repressed women, and children,
Hmm.
you know, that are not fortunate to be in a place where they can speak their mind, where they can walk freely, where they can wear makeup if they want to,
Right.
or not wear makeup
Or
if
not
they
wear
don't want to,
makeup. Yeah.
just to have freedom of choice. You know, um, it really just hurts my soul, and I don't understand it because I think, well, these people, these men that are doing this, you had a mother, right? And you
Yeah.
love your mother.
Right.
Why would you want to do something, even if it's under the name of your religion? And that's not just one religion, because, like you said, there's
Right.
other
There's other
major
religions.
ones, even right here, that are so oppressive to feminine energy.
Right.
And it's so hurtful, and I just don't understand it. And you think, well, what did women do
Right.
but be goddesses?
You
What
got
do
it,
we do
sis.
but be great, but be creators, but
Right.
be life givers and nurturers and all those things that are needed to create balance,
Right.
you know? And that was like a major issue for me, within the belief system within the Christianity, because I never understood it. And I used to even talk to my mother about it and say, well, all of this is making women as if they're an afterthought. The
Right.
creation story is women as an afterthought.
Right.
Like, oh, man's lonely. Oh, I messed up. Let me make a woman for him.
Right.
Like, come on.
It even
That's not.
starts at the beginning. Yeah.
Hmm. So I don't know, girl, but uh, we're on this path, and I think we're just in a time where people are ready to change and ready for the truth. We're tired of sugarcoating things, or we're trying to being obedient for obedience sake,
Yes.
you know.
And for a lot of people, that looks like paganism,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is why I'm also not bothered. But in the same way that a lot of people are being like, oh, well, witchcraft's just a trend. Or, there was that meme floating around a couple years ago, Becky with the whole food sage. And,
I remember
um,
that. Mhm.
and I'm not bothered by how or what brings somebody onto the path, whether it's a TV show or a trend, or they thought a crystal
Mhm.
was pretty, or they just were super into
Right.
tarot. All I care
Right.
is that they're here now and they're welcome to learn
And they want to
and
learn, and they want to know.
they want to
The
know.
importance in all this is your soul.
Right.
What your soul is learning and connecting, your higher self. All this other stuff is irrelevant,
Well,
you
and
know.
even if they don't stick with it, maybe it's not for them. Maybe they just needed to try it on for a little while
Hmm.
and discover
Hmm.
that. And
And then just see. I mean, they may go forward, they may go backwards. You have people that step out and then they go back to the church, or they go back to whatever.
right,
But I will tell you, if you step outside and learn things, it's that much harder to go back. You know
right,
what I mean? It's because you're saying, you know what, I know too much now.
right,
I know um, what you call it, communion is about. I know
right.
that this is what a transmutation of a
Mm,
human sacrifice.
right,
But y'all don't believe in human sacrifice, or even animal sacrifice.
right,
So why are we killing Jesus over and over again
right,
every month? Why are we doing this? Why are we drinking blood and eating flesh? That's
right.
cannibalism.
Yes.
Make it make sense.
And it's blood sacrifice.
Yeah,
But they want to
yeah,
paint the religions that practiced animal or human sacrifice as savages
right. But that's
when Jesus
but
was
but
a
they
human,
say,
literal human sacrifice.
right. But oh, he was the last one. Okay, okay. Like, I don't believe in sacrificing a human for anything, period,
No,
no matter what you are.
no, absolutely not.
You know, but I don't like the hypocrisy.
Right,
You know, call something what it is, you know, like literally, like, what are you doing? What are you believing? Challenge yourself to look deeper.
right.
Hmm.
And I just, I mean, people are comfortable where they're at and they want to maintain the status
Hmm.
quo, but some of us actually want to grow and change and
Hmm.
become better people and make our
And you
children
know,
better. And
I had to make peace with that too. Just, you know, when we're on a path, sometimes we like spend time thinking, oh, I want to convince someone else,
right,
see. And it's like, let them alone. It's okay. Just like you want them to leave you alone,
right.
you know? One of the things I would like to talk about, and either we may talk about that together or I may
Hmm.
talk about that on my own, is dealing with family and
Right,
close family, um, when they are accepting or non accepting of your beliefs and
right.
practices, and even how to handle when they do something disrespectful,
Hmm.
you know, or offensive, or they say something hurtful, you know, and hopefully be able to put this out in a way that is helpful
Right,
to others who may be going through it. You know, you may be going through that closeted period of time
right.
where you can't even openly express yourself. And trust, I know how that feels. We know how that feels.
You know how that
Like
feels?
when you want to break out and you have to keep everything so quiet and you feel like you're disrespecting your path. You feel like you're disrespecting, if you do honor deities or you set out for your ancestors, you feel like you're disrespecting them because you're in just such a situation where you literally cannot, you know, but you got to hang in there
Right.
and just keep working for uh, towards the time when you will be able to, you know, and then when you do get those opportunities, take them.
Yes.
When that family member, relative, whoever it is, goes out of town, light that candle, pour that water. Trust spirit understands everything that you're going through.
Right.
So when those periods of time are made open, take them, take full advantage.
Right. Um, I just, you know, I'm not fully out of the broom closet, but at the same point in time, I don't really feel the need to make any public declarations of my
Hmm.
beliefs. I feel like it's
Right.
nobody's business but my own. Maybe that's just a Scorpio in me wanting to keep, you know, play my cards close to the vest. But
Hmm.
I feel like,
Yeah. And the Sagittarius to me has a hard time keeping shut.
I know
It's like
my Sag
because it
rising,
becomes
I'm in
such a
conflict with
soul.
myself. I'm in conflict.
Yeah, that's the thing because you feel like, okay, I'm gonna be quiet, I'm gonna be quiet, but I need to be myself. I need to be free.
Yes. And so
But
I've
you know, you
started
gotta
branching
find
out
balance.
on other forms of social media, really finding community and uh, you know, finding ways to express myself and be authentic. Because like nobody follows me on Twitter. Well, I've doubled my Twitter followers in like 2 weeks, but like compared to how many people follow people on Twitter, like nobody follows me
Hmm.
on Twitter. So
Well, I don't tweet. I had a Twitter a long time ago just because I wanted to be able to go and look at people's
yeah,
posts or whatever, but I haven't touched that in forever. I have an Instagram that was mostly for business, and I got to get back on that.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I have to. It's a push as well because I've never been that quantity over quality type of person. So when you're trying to get the information out there, it is a struggle, you know, to kind of push to try to grow it.
well, it's been stretching me. Like just
Hmm.
the energy that I've put into this, like it exhausted me at some point last week, and like that's why I haven't put out a video in a while because I just like crumbled as a
Hmm.
constant keep up with Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and trying to run a YouTube, and I just, yeah, and be a mom and a wife and my own
Right,
practice. I
right,
just, something had to give, and I just completely shut down for
right.
nearly a
And
week.
I think for the people that if you do go to my channel,
Right.
which has been renamed Aphrodite Vixen, you will see I initially started out with videos in 2019 and then I stopped.
Right.
And I had to stop because I didn't feel like my environment was appropriate. I wasn't feeling comfortable with
Mm-hmm.
filming. I was always busy. I couldn't really keep a schedule to create content. And I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants.
Right.
And I started the videos just to make myself get started.
Right.
But now it's like, okay, we want to dedicate a little more time to making videos, a little more time to, my thing is whether someone sees it now or however long YouTube exists,
Right.
the purpose is to be helpful, is to help someone get some information or feel good about themselves or even laugh, you know, whatever it is, until that you're not alone. You
Right.
may feel alone sometimes. You may be going through something sometimes, but you'll be all right. Don't
Yeah.
give up. Keep pushing and keep going and laugh. You
Yes.
know, that's
Sometimes it's
really,
not that
really important.
serious.
And sometimes it feels serious. And you're like, oh my
Sometimes
God,
it
I don't
feels
know what I'm
serious.
going to do. But you know what? You just have to keep pushing no matter what it looks like. You got to be like Dory. You got to be about like that fish. You got to just keep swimming. Just keep on swimming. Keep on swimming.
I have
And
fun with
you'll,
it.
mm-hmm.
There's people on this internet, on TikTok, using Taco Bell sauce packets for divination purposes.
Like, yes, no.
Like, depending on, because they all have different sayings on them.
Oh
And
my
they'll have the
gosh.
different colors of them, and they'll throw them. And like, what I find, like, I want to start using this in my practice some way, is the ones that fall face down. They'll be like, what are the
Hmm.
hidden messages? I'm like, that's actually a good trick.
Whatever floats your boat. For me, I got to stick with the basic rate or weight, which I still
Yeah.
you're like, I think this means this. I feel that. And, when you talk about strengths and learning what you're good at, you're not good at, blah, blah, blah. At this point in time, I am not the love doctor. Now,
Oh,
my name is Aphrodite Vixen, but that's not why. Okay. I do identify a lot with Aphrodite.
mhm.
Um, so it just keeps coming to me like that should be my name. And I did make an
Right.
Aphrodite candle.
Yes.
Blessedwit.com will be back. But mm-mm, I didn't name myself Persephone. I am not the
No.
marriage girl. So I don't come to me for love work. Not at this time.
Not at
Who
this
knows?
time.
Maybe 5, 10 years from now, things may change.
Right.
What my gifts are is getting rid of things that need to be getting rid of. That is my gift. That seems to be what works best for me. I am not the get rich money girl. I am stability.
Right.
But I think, like you said, it's about whatever our passions are.
Right.
Produce our gifts are produced through that, and I'm sometimes so content with things that I'm not going to turn down a Bentley,
Right.
but I'm not breaking my neck to get one. So I'm
Right.
not your money girl. Mm-mm. I'm your defense magic girl. I'm your protection girl. I like making oils.
I
Which
do
I
like
still
making.
have. They're in storage, but like I have my goddess oil that was inspired by Isis, the goddess, not the.
Yeah. Not the other.
I have my purified oil, which was inspired by Jesus. Oh, yeah, I used hyssop in it. So, and then I have my divination oil that still has this little raggedy label, but it was inspired by Hecate.
Mm,
I love me some Hecate. Now, I
yes.
didn't name myself Hecate because no, but I know that that is a deity that she gets in my behind, man.
Hmm.
But, but she's that one that I gotta work with to put these gifts out. You know, so
Well,
there
I
you
feel
have
like
it.
I'm still finding and labeling my gifts. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I just spent a long time thinking I was good for nothing
Oh,
and having to heal that part of myself
yeah.
and just being able to
Mm,
recognize my gifts and to flow in my gifts and actually practice and hone these gifts. Because just
mm-hmm.
I may be a skilled reader, but I'm still reading and studying tarot, and I'll continue to read
Right.
and study tarot and get different perspectives on it. And I'll only get better the more people that I read, the more
Right.
information I take in.
Well,
So,
that's what great elders and master teachers and people do. And they'll
uh,
tell you that they even have someone that they learn from. Or,
right.
it never stops until you transcend and elevate.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to always keep. And I had to tell myself that because I felt like not coming into this 20 years ago,
Yeah.
you feel like you've lost so much time. Like, oh,
Yes.
I could have been so far advanced in this, but I was holding on to that. But the thing was, I had to go through what I had to go through. I
Yes.
had to go through the steps. I had to go through painful experiences. I had to go through a lot, even what led me to finally breaking free. Whew, I had
And
to
there
go
is no
through that.
wasted time.
No, there's only lessons.
Yeah.
There's lessons in experience, so we have to not beat ourselves up,
Well,
over the head about these things.
and even though we don't have 20 years of experience, we're not experts in our field, but we're kind of like veterans now. We're seeing some
Well,
stuff.
I think we've surpassed some of the newbie stuff,
Yeah.
you know, um, and even I ain't gonna go there.
Yeah. But it's time to start sharing what we know with
Hmm.
those coming on to the path
Right.
and developing our studies further. And part of, like, I know wanting to set up my YouTube channel was an outlet for me to put my research into, kind of hold me
That'll be good.
accountable on research.
Yeah,
Um, because before
I
I
think
talk
that's
about
really
something, I'm gonna like look it up and read about it again. And
good. Right. Well, I think one of the gifts that has followed me my whole life, even as a child or a teenager, is people always coming to me telling me things and
mhm,
needing some form of counseling,
right.
some form of comfort. It seems to come out really naturally.
Hmm.
And that is one of the things that, even in the little short videos that I have on there,
Hmm.
um, it is about helping others, as I heal. Like you said, we all heal
Right.
and go through these journeys and these time periods of individual growth, then we're able to help someone else heal. Like, I always felt that if I can stop a young woman or help her,
Hmm.
prevent her from going through a lot of the experiences that I went through, I'm gonna do it.
Right.
Now that is something that, it says that the older women help, like, teach the younger women.
Hmm.
We're not in competition. I'm not in
Right.
competition with a woman that's 20 something.
No.
She's younger, tighter, cuter, all of that other stuff, and I have love for her.
Right.
I don't have dislike for her. I
Yeah.
don't I don't judge her. I don't want to be her.
Right.
I'm glad I'm where I'm at. So if I can talk to her and help her recognize pitfalls,
Right.
save her some heartache, save her some pain, then that makes what I went through worth it. Now,
Right.
if I'm not helping anybody, then I went through 20 years of crap for nothing. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I'm getting these wrinkles for for nothing.
Well, and you don't have to be 100% to start. You
Right.
can start from where you're at, and your healing journey continues.
It does. It
Um,
does.
your knowledge journey continues. Just because you start teaching doesn't mean you stop learning, like we talked about.
Right.
Just because you start doing anything doesn't mean that you've arrived and that, you're now stagnant. I mean, you're not going to be a very good teacher or healer if you just
Mm-mm.
stop.
No, there's nowhere else to go.
Right.
Exactly.
Everyone's going to outlevel you.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. You know, so you have to continue, like you said, even as you're teaching, continue with your own individual work, your own
Right.
individual path, your own individual growth. And at the same time, don't become upset if those other people, like, if I nurture you and then it's time for you to flutter on, it's okay
Right.
because I was able to help you with that. And now here's someone who can help you with something else. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like I said, hey, you have to see her for the
Mm-hmm.
tarot.
Right.
Don't see me for it. You know what I mean? But if you have questions like about um, deities presenting or you just want to talk about it, yeah, we can talk about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So each person, like our other sister,
Yes.
eventually will get her. She has some amazing gifts as well that I don't have.
I don't
You know what I
have.
mean? And I'm just in awe of it. And I'm just like,
Right.
oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You've got this great, amazing gift. And so her gift, she can help someone else, you know what I mean? Or
Mm-hmm.
help them if they're on the precipice of that same gift, you
Right.
know? So it's about unification and working together.
And together and just recognizing that, like, we're all on different paths, but I mean, we have a lot of common ground
Hmm. Yeah, we
to
do.
share and find value in. I just like I I even like learning from witches that are younger than me.
Hmm. Right.
You know, they may have been doing this longer, but I find that their perspectives are fresh and new to me.
Right.
I like
Right.
that.
They're not as solidified in their ways,
Right.
to be polite. So they may have a different creative spark. They may be able to see things a little differently. Um, I'm thinking, do I want to share this? So I have been wanting to honor Hecate, right? Give her an
Right.
offering. And I've been talking to you about that for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea that I had never seen anyone do it. I don't know
Right.
if anyone has, but I'd never seen it. And the idea just came to me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and then what happened is when went looking for that supply, I didn't see it in the form that I expected,
Right.
but I saw it in a different form. So I had to say, okay, let me just switch around what I'm planning to do
Right.
and go this route. And then I saw the presentation that I did for her, but I had to think
Mm-hmm.
creatively.
Right.
So there's not always a set in stone way that you have to do something. It's okay
No.
to think outside of the box. Now, you want to make sure your correspondences
Mm-hmm.
are correct when you're
Right.
doing like an offering for like a specific deity or something, or for your ancestors, but you can still be creative with it,
Right.
and it can still be accepted, because I still had the blood in the wine. I had the flesh. I still
Yeah.
had the flesh in the wine, Lonnie, for her, but it just wasn't in the original form that I was looking for.
Hmm.
You know, yeah.
Uh, That's really neat. And I honor Hecate in completely different ways. I haven't done an offering for her in a while. I don't know if I need
Yeah.
to. I tried to put myself on a schedule, and this was a holdover. I know from Christianity, this idea that I have to do something at this regular
Right.
interval to show them that I'm interested in them when it can
Mm-mm.
just flow more naturally than that.
Right. I think it
And
should flow naturally. I think it shouldn't be like just speaking. It shouldn't be just when you want help with something.
right,
So it shouldn't be at that moment, but I don't think it has to be regularly either. Because I mean, what you can do, run out of money? Like how
right,
many candles you gonna be buying every day, or food offerings, or beverages, or and some things are harder to get or find. And not only that, now I would say if you consider yourself a priestess of that
yeah,
deity, that's different. If you're
right,
like, oh, I'm a daughter or I'm a son of this
right.
deity, I've dedicated and initiated for them. Well, then you're in a whole nother ball game.
Well,
But
and I would say
mm-mm,
don't rush into that. Like,
no,
I'm not here to tell you don't run to deity because that's what I did. I went running to deity, like just
mm-hmm,
initially. But be very careful about dedicating yourself to or
yeah,
pledging yourself
yeah.
to because that requires a whole nother set of responsibilities and
Hmm. Now, if you do make some kind of agreement, make sure you keep it.
yeah.
Because I did uh, when I initially returned back here. um, I did have an initial kind of pledge or something with Santa Muerte,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, you know what, I'm going to serve the underserved and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do these things, and this is my sacrifice or whatever. So I did do that for a while. And then when it was time to go, I said, okay, I've done what I agreed to do.
Right.
I gave back in exchange that you've helped me, for that. But now I have to go ahead and, you know, walk away. So yeah, keep your agreements, but be mindful of those agreements. Make sure it's something that you can fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
And, because it's like if you tell your friend or your cousin or whoever, oh, I'm gonna give me $50 and I'll pay you back on the 10th, and then it's the 12th, it's the 15th, you haven't called them, you haven't said anything,
Right.
and then it's months go by, and then you think you're gonna get to go ask them for $50 again.
Right.
No. And I'm just throwing that out there as an example, but you know just as you treat people,
Mm-hmm.
treat deities the way that you would want to be treated and respected.
Their
Because one
relationship.
day, yeah, and one day you're going to elevate and you're going to be an ancestor. Now whether you have the choice of saying, I'm going to hover around and watch out for my youngins, or I'm going to just go on and forget y'all and go do whatever, I
And
don't
I'm gonna
know.
hump people.
I told my son, I said, you know what, I'm going to be watching my great grandbaby like, who hurt you? Why are you crying? Let me go trip that little boy in kindergarten for
That's
hurting you.
right. It's,
Papa, leave my baby alone. You know,
that'll be me.
no, hey, but I'm doing that right now. So, of course,
Right.
like,
Yeah.
if I'm doing defensive work now in the flesh, I mean, in the spirit, I'm be like, oh, no, you didn't. Oh, no, you didn't. Not mine.
I am learning to do more protections and to keep them up
Hmm.
and to layer those protections so that I don't have to go on the like defense or hex, whatever. Because I know we talked about talking about this, like when it's appropriate to
Hmm.
hex, you use baneful
Yes.
magic and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. But like, I just, I don't think petty. I go
Right.
straight for
And
the
that's what I
throat.
think.
So,
Right. And so that's what I said. Like you said, we are going to save that
yeah,
for another video and really get on into it as far as curses and hexes and what's the difference.
right,
When do you feel it's appropriate to
right.
do? Should you do it? What's your moral compass? You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Um, and what are you basing that compass on? Okay,
Right.
because like people be talking about turn the other cheek, and Jesus flipped tables. So
Right.
and in the Old Testament, God was like,
Yeah.
he was destroying people. So,
Very much so. And
hmm and
I
it's
don't
all
know.
up in
You know, I
there.
was told that I have very dark energy, and I'm like, I don't know what to
hmm
do with this information. So,
Well, I think the most quiet, calm, slow to react people are
hmm.
the ones you have to watch out for. You know, the people that are quick to like, and I will joke on Facebook or say something when I'm just
Hmm.
whatever, especially if it's late 1 in the morning and I'm filled with
Right.
all these thoughts. I'll be like, F my exes.
Right.
Because I'm just like, whatever. You know what I mean? It's, hey, I'm healing. It's my shadow work, okay?
Yes.
Um, but on a serious note, you know, I what I learned is don't start none, won't be none.
Exactly.
But I think it should be balanced and even energy.
Hmm.
So I'm not gonna be like destroy you to the ends of the earth, blah blah blah, just because you called me a name.
No.
Now I might be like, oh, I hope she falls on her ass. Yeah, I hope you fall,
Ugh.
because you that was uncalled for. Ooh, she did, haha. But I'm not gonna wish death on nobody, because everything we do has a residual effect. But that's another video.
Yeah,
We don't
that
want to get
that
too
is
deep into
another
this.
video. And
Yeah.
I don't know where we're at here. Just
Uh,
anything else
well, we
about
have.
your practice or yourself that you wanted to?
Oh, well, I mean, I don't really have a full definition of uh, what kind of practitioner I am. Uh, I like just like you, I do um, honor and acknowledge different deities. Even on my candle line, I made
Hmm.
candles for them, for some of them. Um,
Wonderful
you
candles.
know, but I don't. I feel like as I evolve, my work with different deities may also be evolving because it's a
Yes.
growth process. It's an experience process. So the deity that I may need right now to learn or teach me something or help me with something may not be my forever deity. So
Right.
I do consider myself open. I'm an open practitioner.
Hmm.
Now there's certain ones I don't want to cross because it's just a no to me. Um, but I do. Hoodoo's natural. It's just natural
Yeah.
to me, and to me, I feel like it's some things you can learn from elders in a book or this or that, but I feel like it's also what you make it. You make it your
Right.
own, so it's it's nothing for me to be like, you know what, I'm gonna take this and dash it, and if whatever, I might spit in it if
Hmm.
I'm getting at somebody, but that's natural to me. But I
Right.
also, I have the calling the thing with Hecate.
Right.
I have the thing about Aphrodite. I mean, I can't pass a Friday without thinking of Aphrodite,
Right.
and honoring her in some kind of way with some music or some saying or some kind of love wishes. You know what I mean? Some sensuality. I like Persephone a lot. She is my model for if I were to get a husband. I'm like,
Hmm.
Persephone, help make this happen for me because I've been meeting these duds that want me to just handle my own business by myself and then take care of them. And I'm not doing that.
Right.
If I can take myself on a trip,
What I need you for? What I need
why
you
am I going to wait around and waste my time? So Persephone, help me out here. But yeah, so I like those. I like some that I don't know. The Norse. I am part Viking. You've
for? Me
talked
too,
about
a
this.
little bit.
I do have some Norse blood in my DNA. So I do, for some reason, I think on Odin or in Thor. I don't go too deep about them. but the All Father,
Yes.
Um, so we just see how things progress. I mean, I feel like we're all so mixed up. We're able to do whatever. And I have interest in things. I may see what sea witching is about water energy. I'm learning to work more with moon cycles and getting more understanding with the wheel of the year and seasons. But it's something that you just keep growing
Right.
into. So right now, I'm just a witch in progress.
I don't
I
really
like
use a
that.
lot of different labels. Like some people will call themselves a green witch or a hedge witch or
Yeah.
kitchen witch. And like I've looked into all of those, but they just don't really fit.
Right. Like it just seems so defined. And the thing is, like,
Hmm.
well, I work in my kitchen with herbs and
Hmm.
oils, so that's kitchen witch. I don't really do a lot of water magic. I don't really understand it that much, to be
Hmm.
honest. So I know that's the sea witch thing. Um, I do work with fire,
Yeah.
and I am a Sagittarius. I'm a fire sign,
Fire
so
sign.
I yes, I will burn something, child. Yes, but I
Mm.
also I think making dolls or molding things is kind of earthy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crafty. So we have all these elements within us. Anyway, I don't think anyone is just one set thing. I haven't seen a spirit yet.
Yeah.
I've dreamt them though.
Right.
But so I'm kind of like a little like I don't know.
I
I don't
don't
know if I
think
ever want to see one or if I will.
the I don't think seeing is my gift, but I
Hmm. Hmm.
feel things more than I see them or hear them. Sometimes I've smelled things.
I've had that before. Ooh, I had that before, and I remember that way back at a job I had,
Mhm.
and I posted about that, and someone was like,
Mhm.
maybe that was Papa Legba. Let me
Mm.
move on over here to the side
Yes.
out the way. And it was on some bad things. Okay,
Hmm.
so it may have been one of them kind of co-signing what was about to take place,
Right.
and it was a smell that just came out of nowhere because there was no one had walked in the building. There was no one in the front lobby. I was sitting to myself, and I was like, "This." I had this smell of like a cigar and like a rum chocolate
Mm.
candy, and it just came out of nowhere, and it
Okay.
lingered. And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And I remember when the staff had come to the front, and they were like, "What's that smell?"
Mm.
So I have had that happen. Like I said, it's not often,
Right.
but something was present. Then basically was like,
Yes.
"Hey, hey, I got you," and I got them. How about that? But hey, they asked for it, but I'm mostly good.
Yeah. I, I'm just a witch. Witch fits. So I just I'm just a witch.
I'm just
Practice
a
what I
bitch,
practice.
right? And that's when I feel most comfortable when I can be free to just
Mm.
relax, elevate, do my thing, make something, light a candle.
Right.
I'm working on meditating. Meditating is not easy for me because my mind is always going. Um, so I
Meditation is
wish I
very
could.
beneficial, but it's not for everyone.
No, because I fall asleep.
I do too.
Because I try to meditate laying down and that doesn't
Hmm.
work. And I'll be so stiff and then just like, so.
Then maybe you have a dream that you needed. So,
Oh, I've been having a lot of dreams every day this week.
wow.
Yeah, heavy dreams. But hey, we're gonna take another video about the thinning of the veil, Lonnie.
Thinning of the
Lanisha.
veil. Yeah, it's the time for it to thin. And, we're in the
Yeah.
Mercury retrograde also. And I don't know what effect it has on dreams. But I
I
did
don't
find it
know.
funny. I was talking to my husband, and he was like a couple weeks ago, he was just really run down and like low energy and everything else. But ironically, since the retrograde started, he has just had more pep in his step and is ready to go
Hmm.
and is clear minded. And I was like, you know why that is? Because you have Mercury retrograde in your chart. Like he was
Mm.
born under a Mercury retrograde.
Oh,
So,
so it just
for
flipped it for him.
right. So it's reversed for him.
Well, all these delays and different things, you know, I said, well, I'm not going to give in to it. I just started lighting candles and
Mm-hmm.
speaking to the universe, saying what's going to happen and what's going to align, and believing that, you know, um, because I refuse to allow anything to have that much control over my existence and for such a long period of time. And how many retrogrades do we have in a year? It seems like it's most of the
Three.
year. They are very long. I don't like
Yeah,
this.
they are. And like, I'm not afraid of the retrograde anymore. I take heed and like,
Hmm.
okay, so there's could be challenges, but I joked the other day, I said I'm not afraid of Mercury retrograde because I have periods. So I know what it's like to be put through the ringer once a
Oh
month.
God.
Retrograde can't get me.
Serenity now.
Mm,
I mean, honestly, I could, mother, what is it? Maiden, mother, crone.
mm-hmm.
I'm ready to get past this mother part. It's okay.
And into
If
the
we
crone.
could do that a little early. I'm kind of
Yeah,
over it.
over it.
Because I don't really do blood magic and, ooh, another video. I don't do that anyway, so
Right.
I don't need this. I really don't.
I'm not having any more kids.
Hmm.
Uh, that would fit in with my plan. But I think that's just about all we had.
Mm-hmm.
Ramble
Yeah.
about.
Ramble, ramble.
That's what we're good for. We
We
talked about.
are. So it's like we got to keep reel it back in. Oh, that's another video. Whoop, that's another video. Whoop, that's
Mm-hmm.
another video. Let me tell you, because there's so much to this, and it can just go on and on and on. And we're not even talking about life stories and life experiences.
Oh,
So, definitely make sure that you follow both of our channels.
yeah, I'll link the both of our.
By the way,
I'll link your channel and your stuff
okay.
below.
Yes, and then that way we will make our little life stories for you, experiences. I
Mm-hmm.
think we have experiences that you could just write a book and another
Right.
book and another book,
We could probably
and
do
life's
have a
still
book.
not over.
Yeah.
And life still isn't over yet. So,
No.
yeah. So we just got to get through it.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting with us and listening to us if you made it this far. And we will be back soon.
Thank you.
All
Take
right.
care.